Here are 5 dumb things people still believe about fitness and what you should do instead. Number 1, by only running or doing a bootcamp class, you're going to be able to get to the ideal physique that you want to achieve. Boot camps, circle style training, or running have their place when it comes to overall health, especially when talking about cardio. But if they are not paired with some type of weightlifting that progressively gets heavier, they're not going to get you where most people want to be physically. The easiest way that I can make this really apparent is if you go to a gym, like a Crunch or whatever gym, running a fitness class, look at the people in the class, and then take a look at the people actually doing resistance training. And I mean no ill will about this, not shaming what anyone does for their training. It's great enough that people are putting time and effort to better themselves. But this video is meant to break through those barriers, or myths that have gone on for way too long, and shed light on the stuff that will actually work to get you to your goal, without a veil or shade of nonsense that's trying to be sold to you. On average, if you were to look at the 2 groups, which group has the physique that you want? I would heavily lean that for most people, it's going to be the group that is actually lifting weights, spending time under tension. It's really not that complicated. Your body adapts to what you consistently do. More strength training leads to more lean mass. In a general sense, a higher resting metabolism and a more efficient body for leaning down. Last comparison here, and then we'll go to number 2. Take a sprinter versus a marathon runner. Sprinters need to be explosive and fast, which to be more effective at doing that, they need more muscle. A marathon runner needs to go long distances and maintain fuel, which the most calorie-dense state of fuel is actually fat, which means for the average marathon runner, they might be skinny, but maintain a higher degree of fat as fuel to perform well. There's actually a coined term for this, and it's not just for marathon runners, but it's called skinny fat. But the overall main takeaway from this is your body is going to adapt to the stimulus that you most consistently put upon it. So if you want to be slightly muscular, leaned, or toned, you need to burn the fat and build some muscle, which will most effectively be achieved by proper weightlifting program versus a blowout exhaustive cardio class. Those classes gas you, give you a hard workout that is oftentimes perceived as being more effective physically due to their intensity, but lack the overall stimulus that will in reality transform your body into what you're actually looking for in most cases. Which leads us to number 2, you can't really talk about weight loss or body changes if you're not talking about food. And let me preface this now. All of these topics, I'm not going to break them down in the same nonsense you hear all the time. I'm going to be pretty blunt, which might come off as being insensitive, but it's not meant to alienate anyone or make any of these topics personal. It's meant to get the point across and straight to it. There is way too much research and evidence on all of this for any of it to be a myth at this point. Myths that are holding people back on finally finding progress or reaching their goals. Number 2. 70, 75, 80% of weight loss is due to food. Blah, blah, blah. We've all heard this. We've heard the percentages at a high rate when it comes to food and weight loss. Well, guess what? No matter what, or unfortunately enough, whatever that exact percentage is, the truth is the most important topic when it comes to weight loss is food. My new favorite line is abs are not made in the kitchen. They're made in the gym and revealed by what you eat in the kitchen or car. All calories count. But if this is true, what should you do? I don't want to diet. I don't want to eat salads all the time. There's no way I'm meal prepping for 4 hours on Sunday just to keep picking up fast food instead because I'm tired of eating the same meals reheated every day. Those lines and those feelings are incredibly universal, not only because so many of us have done it before, but because there's a common issue that can be resolved and brought to attention within them. One issue that destroys the food fads when it comes to high failure rates, and that issue is behavioral changes. And I don't want to use the word discipline, because yeah, it's obviously related, but it's used too broadly when it comes to fitness and just shades over what you can really do to make a change. The answer can't always just be, I need to be more disciplined, because guess what? We're not all David Goggins. We all don't need to have 6-packs. Life's too short to be a drill sergeant in every decision. We are creatures of habit. Over the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you have been living a life of, on average, doing the same things, especially if you're a little bit older, or at least out of college and work a job. Or even more so if you have kids. Inside of the chaos and in line with the routine over those years, you've just settled into a groove, and we love to stick with the same dance. So if you drastically change something, like going into a diet that requires thinking on a new grocery list, prepping different meals, eating foods you don't generally eat, reheating food that tastes like ass, and the list goes on and on. Most people might be able to keep the train on the tracks during the first few weeks, but over time, the weekends tend to become indulgent. That turns into a slippery slope of wild weekends and salad Mondays. Increased fast food pickups, uncontrollable binging through deprivation or desperation of some deep fried goodness you can't resist. Guess what? Again, those feelings are all too common or universal because it all goes back to being a creature of habit. So in saying all that, what's the solution? What is the answer? What can you do? The answer is, boringly enough, you need to make small changes to your current habits and diet over time that you can sustain. Trade one small thing for another. Allow yourself to indulge, but over time find a middle ground of what you were doing and slowly transitioning it to what you want or who you want to become. That's it. Small changes over time that are sustainable and realistic. Number 3, you can turn fat into muscle. No. Muscle and fat, they're two different things. You can't change one into the other. People assume you can change muscle into fat because as you lose fat through that process, over time, more of your muscle tissue starts to show. That's why a skinny person with a low body fat percentage that doesn't work out at all can have pretty defined abs. We all have abs. You just need a low enough body fat percentage for you to see them. This is also where the coined term tone came in. You can't tone a muscle. Yes, a muscle can look more toned in appearance, but by definition, it's just the size of the muscle or muscle growth under the skin in a ratio of how much fat is there, which means if you want to tone a muscle, you need to weight lift and diet down to lose some fat. I didn't make tone the main category, it's kind of a subcategory here, or this one either, but ladies, you aren't going to get bulky from weightlifting. Think of the dudes in the gym all the time and are still kind of small. Sorry, guys. And I also don't really get that big or put that much size on them a year, even though I lift all the time either. Just because I'm not eating enough calories to do it. And I don't want to get that much bigger because I don't want to put the effort in to eat much food. But to get bulky, you got to be smashing food and training hard in ways that are out of your norm. Especially for females who have roughly a third the testosterone of a male, which is the main aid in getting bulky. It's just not going to happen unless you're really trying months and months at a time, lifting hard, and most importantly, eating in a calorie surplus. You're not going to gain a bunch of size and you're not going to get bulky. Getting bigger can be just as hard as losing weight for some people. Change in either direction takes time and consistency. And at times, you're going to be uncomfortable because you're going to be pushing yourself out of the range of what you're typically doing when it comes to eating food when you don't want to. Or on the other end, you're going to be a little bit hungry at times as well. It's just how the process works. It's not easy. Number 4 is a two-parter. The first one, you have to consume protein within an hour of doing your workout or you're going to lose gains, or the anabolic window. And the second, you can only absorb 20 to 25 grams per meal of protein. Jeff Nippard goes over several studies on both of these topics, and basically the answer is the same for each one. It's not about when you consume your protein. It's about how much you consume overall in a day. Yeah, don't eat 100 grams of protein in a meal. Anything in excess over time will obviously create some kind of issue, no matter what it is. At the end of the day, for proper nutrition, goals, or whatever gains you're looking for, the main factor or the most important factor is how many grams of protein you consume overall per day and consistently throughout the weeks. It's really not that complicated. Whether you're eating close to 1 pound per gram of protein per day, space it out over the day and make sure you're getting all of your protein in per day. Done. Did it. Answer. Don't have to think any further. Number 5, and the last one, that you're actually going to get in shape this year. And this one is less of a myth and more mythical in most people's desires. But let me be honest and help everyone out here to wrap everything up. A lot of reaching a physical goal is more psychological than most people realize. We talked a little bit about behavioral change, and everyone knows the ups and downs of trying to reach a personal goal when it comes to training and their diet. Here's a simple plan you can do that has 2 steps to it that's going to take me less than 2 minutes to explain. That doesn't require a ton of changes and weeds out all of the nonsense. Or step 1, increase your protein intake to 0.75 to 1 gram per pound that you weigh. And no, this isn't for bulking or just muscle growth. What you'll notice if you do this is you will feel fuller, have less cravings for smashing carbs, be less tired, and recover faster. Don't do any crazy changes either. Look at your current food intake and make small changes per meal, or add in another snack or meal to hit the intake in relation to your cooking habits, work, schedule, whatever. It needs to be simple and achievable within your average daily activities. Boom, the food's done. That's all you gotta do, and you'd be surprised how effective that can really be. Be your number 2. Get to the gym at least 3 times per week. At 3 days per week, do full body workouts, including 5 to 7 lifts per workout. It can even be machines. Just be sure that out of the 3 days, all 15 to 21 lifts are different within the week. Pick exercises that you're comfortable with, exercises you know and that you can do well. Each lift, do anywhere between 3 to 5 sets at 8 to 12 reps starting off, and then build from there. Do the same 3 workouts each week. Try to increase the weight and challenge yourself a little bit. Realize that not every day you're going to feel as good as the others in the gym, but the most important factor when it comes to training is just consistency. Doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to do a bunch of stuff that you're not used to. Do those 2 things for 3 months, and the mythical I'm going to get in better shape this year might not seem as much of a myth. Then one last thing I have to throw on the end here, if you really want to take this a step further, something simple, is get 10,000 steps a day. I know we hear that all the time, but it's like the easiest thing you can do. You can even get on a treadmill and walk during your warm-ups for each workout. But when it comes to walking as a tool for burning extra calories as a fat loss concept, walking is kind of the number one, and people don't realize it enough as much as I think they should. As always, if you have any questions, please comment. Don't forget to subscribe. See you guys in the next one.